Unit 1, mindset, I have 2 takeaways. My first takeaway is that when we read our first article, the article, I took notes, was called What Are the Habits of the Mind? It provided 16 different habits of the mind on little cards, and I believe that leadership was one of these habits and also one of my main takeaways from this unit. I wrote down a quote here from the article that says, leaders consistently examine how and why others behave the way they do, what biases they may have in how they perceive others' thinking, and how others' connections might uncover new thinking for them. And I relate this to my students because you see students with certain behaviors, specific behaviors that you're like trying to understand. For me personally, I'm trying to understand them. And it makes it so challenging at times because you just can't make sense of it. You just end up labeling a kid like, a bad kid or a kid that's, a problem child. And I don't want to do that. As a leader, I feel like part of my role is to encourage these kids to grasp a new mindset as like, I can do this, or I am able. And I think getting these kids to think about being leaders themselves is so vital. It changes atmospheres. It changes everything. So my next note was teachers are leaders, students can be leaders, mothers are leaders, fathers are leaders. You don't have to be in the huge hierarchy of presidential White House, government officials to be a leader. I never want to be caught without my leadership hat on. And it takes someone who is concerned about doing what is right for the well-being of those around them, not just themselves, to putting themselves second and putting other people first, to manage their mental health and to manage their ability to grow and to encourage it. Not so much even manage it, but to encourage these things. My takeaway number 2 from the Unit 1 mindset was when we read the article, What Having a Growth Mindset Really Means, I learned that not everyone is either a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. In fact, the author of this article from Harvard Business Review stated, everyone is actually a mixture of fixed and growth mindsets, and that mixture continually evolves with experience. So I think like sometimes we think that, we relate it to people like, oh, they're just stuck in their ways. No, this is like a facts. This is like stats. Like you can't argue this. Like we are all part fixed and part growth mindset. And that's just how it is. And it really struck me as I'm going to take this with me because that leaves us all with plenty of opportunity for growth, even if we don't recognize it right away. Unit 2 in this class is metacognition. And my first point is that student learning should be teachers' first, number one, absolute priority. I feel that teachers are under a lot of pressure to do things a certain way. Standardized testing and teacher evaluations make educators rush through material with just enough being said, just enough being taught for students to get to pass that test, to get the score, to get the grade. And this leaves students unprepared for when they arrive at their next destination of grade level. So we are basically being, as in we, I mean teachers are basically being manipulated by fear of standardized tests and I guess you could say, school board demands and expectations that are unreasonable to meet. So with that, we are instilling a different lifestyle, one that's not going to be successful within students. We want them to be successful. We want to build them up. Metacognition is thinking about your thinking. So when students grasp that idea, they're able to understand and reflect on their test scores and what they did to receive these test scores, and think about things like, how are students able to focus, make sense of what they missed. Teachers have so much responsibility in the area of metacognition, and it's not being met at this time. And I believe that's a huge problem in today's world of educators. My second takeaway point from Metacognition Unit 2 is that when we read Rethinking Learning Potential, it talked about how a lot of educators put labels on students. Like, I have notes here. It says, intelligence is not only genetics, it's also learned. So what are we pouring into our students? That's the question. One of the quotes from this particular article says, then teachers can begin to transform their teaching practices. The goal for a teacher is to nurture the student's potential by guiding them to metaphorically rewire their minds and attitudes with new attitudes, knowledge, and abilities. It seems like it always comes back on the teacher, as it should so in an academic setting. I think that if we were to take time to rewire the way we think and focus more on teaching our students instead of like getting through the test and moving to the next grade, help them to process things and implement it in the classroom with activities and pictures and graphs and charts and games, being on their level, I think it would open a whole new world for them. So in Unit 3, we talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I think the pyramid was really cool to see. That was my first takeaway, that this guy, Maslow, he made this pyramid with a theory behind it. And I have that theory here in front of me and the pyramid, and it says that there are 5 categories that are included in the pyramid: psychological safety, love and belonging, self esteem, and then self-actualization is at the very top. So the argument here for Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid is that it works as long as you start from the bottom tier and work your way up. The bottom tier is like the basic needs. So it's saying, if we can provide for the needs of basic essentials, as in right here, it says air, water, food, sleep, clothing, and shelter. As in one of the articles that we read, in a school setting, the free and reduced lunch would be what we call this first psychological level being fulfilled. So then we move up to the safety level, and it's personal safety, economic security, and health. So that all made a lot of sense to me as I was reading through these. And then I got to the third tier of the pyramid, which is love and belonging. And it says that includes friendship, family, social groups, and intimacy. So I thought, I mean, that really couldn't be right in my opinion. At first, I was like, yes, I agree with this. I agree with this. This guy's a genius. And then I got there and I was like, this is not right, because a lot of health issues and health concerns, and it comes from not having a suitable support system, not having love, not belonging, not having that sense of belonging. Everybody wants to belong. Everyone needs love. And if you don't have that, it can really affect your body. And so that's stating the pyramid in reverse, because health is before love and belonging. But that's okay. So we move on to esteem, self-esteem, confidence, respect, and achievement. But also, I mean, what are those things? Those are all aspects of belonging and love. So I didn't agree with that either. And the further I got in the reading, I thought this guy's got a point, but I could see where people would argue it. The very top is self-actualization, morality, creativity, problem solving, reaching one's full potential. And, I think it takes a village to raise children, and it's not just something one parent can do. And I don't think it's something that just one teacher can do. Like, it takes so much, not just these things. And I'm not discrediting Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid. I think it is a good foundational first step, but I do believe that there is so much more to it. And for me, I took away from this unit that we do have basic needs, and we do have things that would help us to grow and connect us better in the world around us and to each other. But I don't think that there's a certain order that they need to come in. And if there is, I would definitely agree that love and belonging is one of the very first to prioritize. So one of the questions is, what did I learn about myself as a learner through this course? And I think really that's such a amazing question, because there are so many things that I could list. But I think the number one thing that I also did not put into my takeaways, but that I learned, was in the mindset with Miss Carol Dweck, when she taught us about the concept of yet. And I think implementing that in my classroom has made such a shift, not only in the classroom, but in myself, because I doubted myself and my ability to be a successful student in this class, in your class. And I feel like maybe if I had a different perspective of yet, like I'm nervous now because I don't think I can do it, but perhaps I can't do it yet. And now it's because I didn't know what to expect in this class. So it makes sense to apply yet, not only to myself, but also to my students, allowing them to make mistakes and to be able to cognitively process, like, why did I do that? Where did I go wrong? And make sure it's a security of, you're not stupid, you're not dumb, you can do it, you just don't know how yet. And that's okay, because we're all learning. And I think that's like, really, that's what I learned about myself in this course. And it's also the shift that I made in how I am thinking and studying and learning in life, not just in a classroom and not just at home, because it allows me the ability to be able to make mistakes and to learn and to grow from them. In turn, it allows my students the same thing. So currently in my 5th grade social studies class, I have implemented a mindset chart. And it's a chart that I made of paper, and I put it up on the side of the board, and it allows students to put the way they are feeling or thinking about themselves and the assignment. It's like you don't tape it up, it's just a little sticky, and they can stick it onto there. And it doesn't have to have their name, it's anonymous. That way we can go through the questions together and the ideas and the thoughts and allow ourselves time to correct and learn. So it's kind of like using yet, but like one of the kids said, I'm nervous about the test because I don't think I'll be able to do it. So my answer for that was, I didn't know who wrote it. My answer for that was, it's okay if you don't think you can do it. We're only like a quarter of the way through the chapter, and the chapter test isn't for a week. I don't expect you to know everything in that chapter right now. Of course, you're going to think that. You don't know it yet. And that made more sense to the class. And I think it kind of took the chip, off the shoulder, and things were able to move forward in like a really nice pace. And we gradually got through the test. And that kid apparently came to me and said that was me, and he got an A. It was awesome.